Hey, Jeff from Become More Compelling here, and welcome to another episode of Compelling Combos. And today I'm very excited about our topic because if you've been doing this thing, then it is probably really not doing you any favors when it comes to interacting with your fellow humans. What is it? Mind reading. So if you've ever been in a social situation and you find yourself thinking things like, they think I'm awkward, they think I'm weird, they think I'm quiet, that's an example of mind reading. And I want you to repeat after me. I cannot mind read. This is really powerful. Once you harness the idea of, look, no one can read my mind and I can't read anyone else's mind, then that frees you up a lot because you start to focus on some different things that we're going to talk about. And when it comes to social situations, it can be really damaging because if you let those I call them hallucinations. So you are picturing what you think other people are thinking about you. If you're reacting to what you think they're thinking about you and you let that influence your behavior, then that takes you completely out of the moment, and it's really going to make it difficult for you to adapt to what's really happening. Instead, you're kind of lost in a projection of what you think is actually happening. So some examples of situations where you might be tempted to mind read, but you shouldn't. You walk into a new job, you can't read your new coworker's mind. You enter a party, you can't read the host's mind. Well, when we all party after quarantine is over, that is. You sit down for a job interview, could be on Zoom or in real life. You can't read your interviewer's mind. So I think mind reading really comes from the notion of people have a lot of discomfort with the unknown. It's very human, I think, if we're presented with an unfamiliar situation, we want to know as much information as we possibly can about the situation that we're in, because that reduces the information gap that we feel. And when you feel that information gap, it becomes really uncomfortable. If you've ever had someone start a story but then not finish it, there's that little bit of like, man, I really want to know how this ends. Some of the best movies do this. Like, I'm thinking of the opening scene of Fight Club when they had Edward Norton in the chair and he has a gun in his mouth, and then they rewind and they tell you the rest of the story. Well, the entire movie, the first time you watch it, you wanted to know what happened at the end. So that information gap, that is uncomfortable, and so we try to reduce that information gap, and one of the ways that we try to do it is we try to mind read. I say try because you're very, very likely not to be successful. I think the only people who could not really mind read so much as just recognize patterns would be like someone from like the FBI who's, for example, a negotiator, and they've been in hundreds of different situations that are all very similar but just slightly different. So you would need a lot of repetition to be able to predict in an accurate way. And even then, I'm not sure what that percentage would be. I think it would still be fairly hit or miss. So what's the solution to mind reading? Like, if we can't mind read, what can we do? Well, number one, control what you can control. If you can't read minds, what other options do you have? So you walk into a new job, you introduce yourself to as many people as you can. That is something that you can control. You enter a party, you say hi to the host and ask them who you think the host should introduce you to, who might have some common interests. That's something that you can control. You sit down for a job interview. Since you can't mind read, the best you can do is answer and ask good questions about the position and make small talk with the interviewer, build a little rapport. I mean, that's really effective. It's a lot better than sitting in the job interview and thinking, okay, I wonder how they want me to answer this question, because that's going to take you way outside of the current moment, and that's not a good place to play from. So this also applies after the interaction. After that, you walk into that new job, you can't think, oh, my coworker thinks I'm weird, because you can't mind read. You can't think, oh, I bet the host thought I was too quiet, because you can't mind read. You can't think, oh, I bet the interviewer hated me, because you don't know what's going on inside their head. You can't think these things because, what is it? You can't mind read. And if you catch yourself slipping up and thinking to yourself, oh, I bet this person thinks, well, just remember Jeff told you you can't mind read. So gently remind yourself, hey, I don't know what's going on inside this other person's head, so all I can do is control the things that I can actually control. So something else that I really like, there's a website called the Emotion Machine, and Stephen Handel is the main guy over there, and he wrote a article on mind reading that I thought was really good. And one of the tips that he brought up, which I'll repeat here, is you can clarify. So you can ask questions to make sure you understand what the other person is thinking. So you might say your boss is giving you a project, and you could make a lot of assumptions about what success looks like when it comes to the project. What you can clarify by repeating and paraphrasing, like, hey boss, so what I heard you say was this, that, or the other. Does that sound about right to you? And that's a really good way to make sure that you understand and make sure that the person on the other side of the table has explained that thing to you really accurately. Because, like, say if you're, might apply in a like boss employee situation, but it might also apply in a client and consultant kind of relationship too. We don't want to operate off of assumptions, and mind reading naturally leads to a lot of those assumptions taking place. So the best thing you can do, paraphrase what you think they said, and repeat it back to them, and just let them tell you, like, oh yeah, that sounds about right. And like, hey, you're good, you didn't miss anything. Or they'll say, oh, you know what, I should have said this, or no, that's not quite right, here's what I was thinking about. And so you guys are on the path to seeing the world as closely to the same as you possibly can. Spoiler alert, you'll never get there completely. That might be a topic for another compelling convo, but the closer you can get, the better it is for both people trying to accomplish something. So your action step: if you catch yourself accidentally mind reading, gently remind yourself that you can't read minds. You can only control what you can control. You can control your body language, you can control your eye contact, you can control your conversation, your small talk, your building rapport, telling stories. There's a lot that you can control, and a lot that we're going to be talking about in these compelling conversations, and stuff I've covered before on previous episodes of my podcast, for example. But there's a lot that we can control. And so things that we can't control is other people's thoughts. Like, we can't read them. The best we can do is be our best self and control what we can control. So that is our topic for today. If you have a suggestion of a future topic that you'd like me to cover, you can @ me on Instagram or Twitter @ the Jeff Callahan with 2 L's. You can send me an email at jeff@becomemorecompelling.com, or you can just leave a comment below and tell me what you want me to cover, and I'll cover it in a future episode. All right, that's it for today. Thanks. Hey, a couple of quick things before you leave. One, I've got a subscribe button over here. If you like this video and you don't want to miss out on a future video, hit that subscribe button. 2, if you like this video, hit the like button. That helps other awesome people like you find it. And 3, leave a comment if you have any feedback for me, or if you have a topic or suggestion that you want me to cover in a future video. Thanks.